Take a look through it, see if there's anything you want added or subtracted or changed on it before we begin. If not, I'll take a motion to approve it. Already.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Leo, second by Michelle. Those in favor, with the raised hand, thank you. Motion carries. Next, you have the minutes, and we'll do the same thing. I know you've had a chance to look at them, so when you're ready with a motion on that, motion be in order unless there are additions or deletions or corrections that need to be made.
I probably should have raised this as a new item if it's not too
That's
late.
right, no?
What the next steps might be based on the Board of Adjustments meeting, the decisions that were made there, what's next for the contractor, next for us, that type of thing.
Okay, well, you want to address that now, or you want to just add it on the agenda, or what you want to do?
Either way,
There is another step. The Board of Adjustments denied the application, and unless there's an appeal by the applicant, then it's closed. We have nothing further to do. We've done what we need to, we being the city.
okay. Is the developer on the hook for property? He could still do
He can
highway
still purchase it.
commercial.
He can still purchase it. As a matter of fact, Sean was contacted today by an attorney on behalf, I assume, because it's the same law firm of those folks.
Yeah.
Getting information on the taxes. It appears that their plan, at least from our perspective, it looks like their plan's going forward. But
Okay,
now-
Pete's, that's what I was,
Yeah.
that's where I was.
But it will go forward without a quota package store.
Yes, so whatever meets highway commercial with applicant. That's good news. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm done.
Okay.
Jim, so is that the smaller, that's not the whole entire thing, it's
No,
the
no, no, that's
smaller
just,
chunk?
that's just Jeff Sidner's property and Robbie Worthington's as well. I guess it's his mother's, I'm not sure, but.
So it's
So
partial.
Worthington plus the estate of Monty Beagley.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
It's four parcels total, two at Sidney's. So that was old business, I assume, David?
It doesn't have to be. Okay, we're back to the minutes.
Thank you.
No problem.
I'll make a motion to
Motion by
accept
Greg to
this.
approve the minutes as written. Is there a second to that motion? Motion by Bob, second by Bobby. Those in favor, give raise your right hand. Thank you. We'll move now to the Oakwood project. Now, everybody has seen a copy of the compilation that Jacob sent with us. We'll go ahead and, Michelle told me he's gonna be a little late getting here. I
Yeah,
spoke to him
he's on his
earlier.
way.
I know he's coming, but if you want to go ahead and address that, if we need him for certain questions, we'll back up and do it. But let's start then with the Oakwood Drive project, and I can tell you, if I can see it, that I spoke with both he and Logan earlier, and they're going to recommend the low bid on Oakwood, which was, somebody help me out.
Regular.
Rigler.
It's right here, if you look on the screen, that helps.
Okay.
It's a little small font.
And the only decision left then is the base bid proposal or the alternative bid proposal. And that's totally up to you if you want to accept it at all. So we need a motion and then we can open the floor for discussion. So we need a motion to accept it or reject it. So who's gonna make a motion to do something?
I'll make a motion that we accept the bid as
The bid of Rigler. Is there a second?
The bid for Reedler.
Second by Greg for Rigler. All right, now, floor is open for discussion as to base bid or base bid total alternative bid proposal, or a vote yes or no. So, the floor is yours.
Do we have an estimate? Was there any kind of parameters on what it might cost before you get bids?
The only estimate that we ever had was 3 or 4 years old. I don't know, they can speak to that more than I can, Leo, because I wasn't here.
We've had two different designs and estimates on both. None of the contractors that gave us estimates were approved contractors by District 6, okay? And the highest bid that we had for those, let's say, next tier contractors was 276, but it was actually for a different design, a curb and gutter design versus what we have now, which is ditches and then drains at the low points. one of the IOUs from last meeting and last meeting minutes was to, and maybe you can answer our question, were these contractors approved by District 6? And Logan said he thought they were, but
I
we,
talked to Jacob about it today.
Went and looked on their website today and found them on the list of those, approved.
They are approved.
Yeah.
they're approved, Rigler is approved by.
Yes, Riegler and Rector.
Okay.
Is that District 6 website you found that on?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the website itself.
Do you want to send us a link to that tomorrow? Just
Sure.
I can have it on the file in case there's any questions 5 years from now, what happened to our 4 years of Oakwood here. Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe.
Thank you.
Rigler does have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating as well, so. What little snooping I did.
The bigger part for me is that, again, this came well before I joined council, and again, you know, I've heard all different types of things as far as, you know, and you talk about design change, and again, when I first got on, you know, there was a 50-50 chance that the work that was gonna be done was gonna correct the issue on Oakwood, you know, so that, again, we didn't have any more problems, and it would take care of everything else. I just wanna ensure, and again, I brought this up to Logan last meeting in regard to, are these figures in a design where, again, it's gonna be the end of the project, and again, you know, the folks out there are not gonna have issues, it's gonna cover everything that needs to happen, and we're guaranteed that it's gonna work, as opposed to, like I said, when I first got on, it was 50-50 shot it was gonna do, and like I said, maybe with this design change, we feel more comfortable if that's gonna be the problem, or be the situation, so that we don't have any problems down the road if we commit to this particular project.
I don't want to speak for the engineers, but I have been told the answer to that question is no. That they're not going to guarantee that this solves everything out there, that this is going to help it. And now y'all can speak to this too, because y'all been here as long as I have. and all.
I was involved with the initial design, and when Logan's design was different, but it is consistent with a couple of other civil engineers have done. But just to give you a vision of what it's gonna look like, if you're familiar with Bingham Lane, that's what Oakwood's gonna look like with a narrower road. It's gonna be ditches, drains, and low points in the grass in the front yards as you go down the street, and then collection and disposal to, with an outfall to whatever that unnamed tributary is at the bottom of the field. So it's not gonna look like a harvester's design with curb and gutters. It's not gonna look like, it's gonna be more to the tune of what Bingham Lane looks like with ditches and drains.
And I was honestly told by, I walked that street several years ago with an engineer from the state. And he said, if you really want to fix this right, you're going to need to go down about 3 feet, drop this street, because all the houses are below the level of the street. And then you're going to take all this out. Then you're going to put your drainage in, and then you're going to come back and do this. But, you know, there's no way we can afford that. So I have been told by more than one that this is going to help it, but it is not going to be a be-all, end-all, no more complaints from water. I don't know. So I don't want to sell it as that purpose.
Well, and again, I'm assuming this new design, we're talking about putting the drainage ditches and stuff at the very bottom of that particular street, and from what I remember, you know, driving it and discussing with folks, the issues were, again, all houses going down, especially on the left-hand side where the water gets straight into their garages off the top of that. And again, I guess I'm just trying to understand, you know, if we're setting ourselves up for a bigger failure, where we've again committed dollars to this particular project and gonna have, again, the same folks that are, you know, gonna come back and say, well, you didn't fix anything. Where again, it's a bad look all the way around. So again, I have some concern with that, but.
Maybe it would be good that, God, I hate to delay things, but Logan has some good topographical maps and really a 2-scale drawing of what it's gonna look like. And I think if he were to walk us through that, once again, you feel good about it or ask more questions. It's been 1.5 years since I looked at it. Frankly, that was different than the design that I proposed. But should it work, it's gonna be better, but none of us would be proud of it.
I think the honest answer to your question, Greg, is it's gonna help, but it's not going to, you know, it's certainly not going to be the best that it could be.
Yeah, well, again, that ties back into my original understanding of, you know, the work to try to improve that. And again, it's just not gonna complete the project, and we're setting ourselves up for,
To put it in perspective, the road is about 14 and a half feet wide.
yeah.
The easement from the center line of the road goes 25 feet on either side. Logan's design, there are natural low points as you go
Yeah,
down the
no,
hill down
I'm
there.
talking about, yeah.
And they're not symmetrical, they're
It's
kind of whatever they
yeah.
were when it was developed.
Yep.
Okay, but think 14 feet wide, 25-foot easement. A 4-foot ditch is gonna be put in those front yards on both sides, a 4-foot diagonal.
Mhm.
People are gonna lose part of their front yard in order to not have water flowing into their foundation
Maybe or
driveways.
not, maybe.
Yeah, there's some crosses with culverts on some of the existing driveways, some there's not. That's kind of what we're looking at, but if we really want to get a good feeling for it, I can't do it from memory, it was Logan's
Yeah,
drawing.
yeah.
There is a good topographical map that shows you every drain, what the elevations are, and you can see what the contours are. It is what it is, that's what they bid on.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
That's my concern, I just,
You know,
to compare, you know, dollar and cent wise, this is the grants of 121,000. That grant was provided back in what, 19? 4 years later, we're 3 times that are now.
Yeah.
So we can wait and try to do something different, but this is gonna take 10 years to get it right.
I'm of the opinion that if we wait and go with what we think is a guaranteed cure, we're looking at 4 or 5 times this
yeah,
number.
yeah.
You guys do remember the 100-year storm, right? Comparison that Logan referred to back then. They designed on certain types of storm levels.
Oh, for the rainfall, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it's designed for, it looks like 3 inches an hour.
Yeah, it was I mean, I'm not saying it won't happen, because it will, I'm sure.
Yeah, and again, that's the stuff that I've not heard. I mean, in a formal setting, I've not heard,
Yeah.
I've heard just, you know, rumblings back and forth as far as, you know, roundups of where it's been over the years and how it started and the history with that, but
I think several of us have been down there when it's been, you know, a huge rainfall, and the water's incredible.
It is.
okay.
Will we have to get any easements for dispersible water? Like,
already
if
have
that's
that.
all, okay. It's
We've
all
already
been-
got that.
At the
Yeah,
end.
it's got, that's been purchased.
Yeah.
Paid 5,000 for it.
We could write a book on this project, couldn't we?
Oh my goodness.
But the answer to this, no, we don't have to buy any more easements, we have these. Now, you got Jacob sitting here who's familiar with this, if you want to jump on him too. You know, get all the knowledge you can about this, because it's, you know, we've been beating it around. Jacob, you want to add anything?
I'll answer to the best of my abilities and Logan couldn't make it today.
Do the residents know what that's gonna look like? Do the residents know what that's gonna look like?
To my knowledge, there have been 2 for sure, and maybe 3 of them that have ever attended a meeting. Can you think of any others?
Well, initially, probably half the street, every chair in here was full of
That's
residents.
before my time then.
The,
Okay.
the final design, though, to your point, is probably a handful of folks that knew what it looked like. It was made available to them. It may have been even copies given to them, I don't.
So I doubt, the answer is I doubt it. I doubt that they know there's gonna be a ditch in their front yard, you know, that you could, you could lose your lawnmower in.
I had a question about duration. They have a start date of July 15th. Rico does. They give you any indications, maybe 90 days, it's gonna be 75 days, or?
The way they were talking, it sounded like it'd be probably closer to a month or 2, with Oakwood at least. I know they had offered to do all 3, so, you know, they must have a lot of availability right now.
Did you say three months on Oakwood, or what do you know?
Oh, in the bid itself?
Yeah, it was what they
I
said.
think it was
Oakwood.
specified 90.
Because Oakwood's gonna take some coordination with the buses from the school starting mid-August and that kind of thing, so it's
Right.
just gonna be some workaround.
Yeah, I can, message them and see what their kind of, like, idea was.
Yeah, past this was at 90 days.
Not that we want to go back to it, but it hadn't been that long ago, those children had to walk to the end of that road. The bus couldn't go down there.
I just know 90 days are past schedules, and 90 days puts us in doing asphalt in October.
Well, and again, you know, we'll talk about the next contract out, but again, they've listed as a start date on the multi-street completion of, in June. So, like you said, if they were to get all three of them, they've got, I don't know what their staffing looks like and their availability, but, to your point, things could get pushed around.
Well, it's a start date in June, not a completion date.
No, absolutely, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so I mean, it's,
All of them just have start dates.
More questions, concerns?
Well, and part of the problem with the start date is that the materials that are needed for the project. So they're probably looking at the lead time to get those materials in. Because it looks like the other projects, they can start, you know,
The
here.
first one was the 1st of June, the last one, on the sidewalk stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, they have availability immediately, but a lot of this material will take 30 to 45 days to get in. And you don't want to be starting it with only part of the materials, so. So I think that's more of a, if we could tell them, hey, our priority is getting this one done before school, if at all possible, then they can possibly, you know, mix it around, I'm not sure.
those inlets are precast, they'll take weeks, if not a couple of months, to get them in, probably. Anything around it, it's small.
And the only thing I see on the alternative is, again, about 4-inch asphalt base difference. $20,000.
So, I spoke with Logan on that for some clarity, so Jim, you'd asked about it. The way he explained it to me is, the reason we did the alternative was it's a cheaper option, and it came in higher, so honestly, you might as well just ignore that. The reason being is because the base bid is easier to work, like through, like in stages, and it's easier to get like traffic through. But since the one that was supposed to be cheaper came in higher, I mean, it's not really even.
Well, I didn't know if there was a reason why we need additional 4 inches of asphalt for the base.
Instead of doing it
Base.
in
Yeah.
the sub base and the,
Yeah,
you know, in stages, you just
good.
do all it, it's easier to work with traffic.
What is the 3.5 inch? I mean, is that sufficient if we, you know, go for the regular bid and
Right.
as
yeah.
opposed to, okay?
Because you have the sub base underneath that, 6
Yeah.
inches, so.
Well, I just didn't know, like I said, what the difference and why that was out there, if there was a specific reason to continue to add. I mean, add that, there's just 4 inches.
Well, there's no, there wouldn't be any sub base, it'd be taking the place of that.
Okay.
basically.
Greg, you see, line 15,
Yeah.
it says 6 inches of,
Yeah, sub-base, yeah.
That will come out.
Yeah, okay, that's what it wasn't listed at, yeah.
Other questions? Okay, we got a motion and second on the floor. Anybody else has any other questions, or if there are no other questions, are we ready to vote on this one?
One other point I had about the funding, and I think this is a conversation that you and I just had.
Yes.
We still think we've got $120,000 from District 6 money, and the balance could be applied from ARPA.
That is true.
Well, I thought there was already an appropriation
we have a budget.
in the budget item.
There is.
Okay.
There is, I'm just saying. Use it or
The reason I think Joe's revisiting this is that 120, I've been told, is coming out of the 3% retainage that's done on all roads. I've spoken to Mr. Yeager about this, and I don't think that's like money in the bank. But if it's there, we get it. I would think it would be difficult for them to say we don't, since they made a big deal, put it in the newspaper and all that, but it's not absolutely ironclad, as I understand it, that we get that. You know, but I'm comfortable that we will. As a matter of fact, he said that if there's additional funds there, and we need additional funds, that we would probably get more.
Okay.
Probably doesn't put it in the bank, I understand that.
Yeah, well, and again, I'm just going from the line item that was the 275,000 we've committed to this project.
Yes.
From our budget, and again, we're about 90,000 short, so again, I was assuming that that was gonna be money to go, but you were talking about if we don't get it, then we go ahead and try to pull money from one of the other funds.
Yes.
Correct.
Because again, when I do the math on the other projects on here, we've just about committed all of the ARPA money through the, okay.
That is correct. We have committed all the ARPA money, one way or the other.
Yeah, well, I'm saying even outside of what we've got it on for parks projects, when you look at road paving, for these particular projects and sidewalk and stuff, it's pretty much gone on that.
It is all. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure we're all on agreement that that's where we want to go with it.
I think it's important to understand where the money's coming from.
Totally agree.
This piece, we're covered, but if we look at all of them, we're kind of covered, not quite though.
Yeah, but it's
And
gonna be
how far, and
close.
how far do we want to dig if we approve all of them?
Yeah, it's close, but again, my bigger concern is that again, the ARPA money gets spent. Because again, as a federal employee, former federal employee, I know that there's clawback going on right now, for all this money that's been put out there, and they're clawing it back for all different types of things.
And if you listen to Jim Jordan, who's given,
Yep.
2 interviews now, that's still a topic, that's a hot
Absolutely.
topic as far as.
Public is trying to get some of that money back that's been out there, so, and again, I raised that when it first came out, that again, we need to try to get something committed, and out there, so that again, it wasn't on a clawback plan, so.
Correct.
All right.
Further discussion? Okay, we got a motion and second on the floor. Everybody ready to vote on that one? Up or down? All right, call the roll, Sean.
Okay, Mr. Saylor,
Yes.
just remind us, yes to
Now, that's yes to
motion for
the,
Regler's bid be accepted by the city.
Yes.
and it's base bid.
Base
Not
bid.
the alternative.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, the base bid. Okay, sorry. Mr. Livingood,
Yes.
Mr. Duzen,
Yes.
Mr. Tanner,
Yes.
Mrs. Morris,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowman,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right, move next then to number 2 under new business, the street rehab project, Bingham, Claiborne, Turner, and Ridgeway.
Celebrate.
I'm sorry.
We should celebrate. XAO, Oakwood's been,
We hope we could celebrate soon. We'll find out.
I've been guaranteed that it's gonna work.
Okay, you have that bid sheet there as well. It's a pretty straightforward one. The recommendation there is regular, am I correct? As far as the engineering's concerned. So, in order to start the discussion again, we need a motion and second to either accept or deny the bid of, let's take regular first, of $220,564.25, and then we'll discuss that in just a minute on the numbers.
Make a motion.
Motion by Michelle, second by Greg. Now the floor is open for discussion, and before we get into that, Claiborne, number 4 and 5, you'll see that the county's paying, 46,
46.8.
817.75, is that right? Yes. So that would come off this number, is that correct?
correct.
Yes. So with that in mind, now the floor is open for discussion.
So the 220 is actually 174 and change, right?
I didn't do the math, but
174-ish.
whatever that minus is.
173 and change, yeah.
Okay.
So it's
Which Joe helps the
So
numbers.
whatever that number is, Joe, I didn't do the math, I know it's 46,817.75, and you subtract that from 220,564.25.
173, 700,
Yeah, 173,74649.
which Joe and Greg, that makes the base number,
Okay. All right.
budget-wise, a lot easier.
Yeah,
So anyway,
I was hoping that was the case.
motion second on the floor, it's open for discussion.
So for the public, it means that we're doing the entire Claiborne. All Claiborne's being
We're
done.
doing the entire Claiborne, we're doing our part, and the county's doing their part.
Yes, and they're gonna bill the county directly?
We discussed that, I discussed that with Joe.
That's what I see Jake, I said, yeah, I got it.
Yes.
Separate invoices, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Are they gonna require progress payments on any of these?
I haven't heard anything about that.
They have not before.
Okay.
Oakwood in the past wanted a progress payment.
Yeah,
Because of all the long
the
lead
pipe
items.
they had designed, yeah.
But
That's
we
not
were
in bid though, right? I mean, there's been nothing.
I don't think
that's-
there's anything about
No.
progress payment.
Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they came in, especially with a product, with a bill for
The pipes.
hardware.
Yeah.
But, you
Well,
know,
there's still, whatever there was, 11 or 15 drains along the way that's gotta be piped.
yes, but, okay. Other questions or discussion on these streets? And we were discussing this a little bit earlier, we have another street in the city that's in pretty bad shape, and if anybody gets a chance to run down the, well, I know Leo does, run that case sometime and take a look at it. I don't know that we'll be able to get to that one, because like you say, we're spending a great deal of money here, we're gonna spend a lot of money tonight, one way or the other. But if we can, I think Case is the next one that we need to be looking at. Now, it's kind of odd.
Yeah, how far down does it go?
Well, if you notice,
It's really odd.
it goes down about to where you are, and then it splits in the middle. I mean, it's not like Claiborne where you do it, you know, perpendicular. Your street splits down the center. So we're gonna have to I know, doesn't that sound
Yeah.
crazy? But it does. We're gonna have to coordinate that with the county in order to be able to do it, because otherwise we'd be paving a little half of the road.
It was like the left side of the county and the right side of the city?
Yeah, same for Shady, Shady's worse,
But that's backward. The left side's the city and the right side's the county, yeah, but yes. But anyway, it's not here to be discussed tonight. I'm just saying that, you know, we need to keep that one in mind because it's in bad shape, right? You agree with me, Leo, or not?
I don't know, the first part isn't too bad, that's why I was wondering how far it went down.
Well, the city has the first part.
yeah, it's to your house basically, that's it.
Right,
Yeah.
I mean, it gets worse after that.
It does get worse, yeah.
Doesn't it shrink almost like a long road?
It does come in,
It's all, yeah.
yeah. But anyway.
But again, that has to go with coordination with the county, that they've got to have funds to be able to do that
Correct.
also.
But we're not even discussing it tonight. I just wanted to keep that one in mind.
Gotcha.
I wanted to add it, but I can't. Yeah.
In the spirit of keeping things in mind too, we're gonna have to do crack repair like we did in
Yes.
prior years, so there's still probably $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. I'm just throwing out wild
Well,
numbers.
you're right, and your subdivision
Yeah.
is subsiding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know that. It's
Yeah.
sliding down the hill, the whole subdivision is.
no, didn't know that.
Well, it is. We'll go out there sometime and look, because I was out there with Jacob, no, Logan. And right about where the Second Street, I don't know the name of the Second Street down. Where,
That's our Hannah.
is it Hannah? Where Eric replaced that box on the left side. If you look, that whole street is moved about
About
an
half
inch
an inch or two,
Yeah.
yeah, or an inch, yeah,
down the hill.
yeah.
So.
You talking about where my house is?
I don't know where your house is.
At the corner of,
Near your house.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't look at my
You go out there
mailbox,
and
by the
look
way.
Down at that Second Street, walk down there and take a look, and it's subsiding and sliding.
Yeah, that's my house.
Oh, sorry, it is.
Enjoy the free ride.
Okay,
Yep.
so we got a motion second on the floor, other discussion on these streets,
Let's do it.
ready to vote? Okay, call roll.
I'll make one comment if you don't mind, just on, if you don't see it being milled, that means it's being layered on top.
Correct.
So there'll be some driveway inconsistencies most likely in the older streets.
There will, and
Just so you're
especially
ready to
those
catch up,
streets,
make sure we're on the
the
same
ones
page.
that are not curved are not gonna get milled.
Not curved, no milling.
Right,
So you get asphalt on top, so it rises versus your driveway.
correct.
Sorry. You want to do that?
Yep.
All right, sorry. Okay. Mr. Saleh,
Yes.
Mr. Livingood,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Dusan,
Yes,
Mr. Tanner,
Yes.
Mrs. Morris,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowman.
Yes.
The motion carries. We'll move from there next to number 3, which is the sidewalk project. And again, that, the recommendation there is for Rector, based upon the numbers. We have not used him before. I've spoken to Logan concerning Rector. I've looked at the website. I don't know if Joe's looked at them. Logan says he has not supervised anything that they've done, but he has observed their work. And they enjoy a good reputation as far as I know, and would appear to be in a position to complete the projects that they get. But their recommendation is Rector at 603, 300.
They're not throwing darts.
I'm sorry?
I said, they're not throwing darts, they're pretty competitive on their price.
Yes, they are, 603 to 669, and yeah. So, anyway, we need a motion second, open floor for discussion on that. So is there a motion on, for Rector Excavating at 603, 300? Motion by Michelle, second by Leo.
Let's do all
Floor
three.
open for discussion.
I'll kick it off with some editorial comments.
Okay.
I looked at Rector Excavating, and their website's impressive, the projects and photos of what they've done is impressive. I couldn't find a better Business Bureau rating for them. So that, as big as they are, that surprised me. I don't know if that's a flag or not. The other comments I'd like to make are similar to what I've made before. I've walked the sidewalks out here several times, trying to convince myself we need to do something. And I think the sidewalks are in pretty good shape. Would a new project make it look better? Yes, but how much better? There's about a foot more sidewalk out there throughout the length of the road out here that you don't see because it's never been edged or really edged or weed eated, and it's never been maintained. So how much better are we going to get with this? And how much better is it going to look? And is that improvement worth the $600,000 to $700,000 that we're going to spend on that? I don't know. I'd like to do a comparison after it's edged. But right now, walking these things, structurally, they're in pretty darn good shape. Can we make it look better? Would it make 25 look better? Yes. Is it worth it? I don't know. The other thing, if we do approve it tonight, I think this is the highest risk project from a public safety standpoint. Think of all the activity out there and the crazy traffic that we've all seen with people doing 50 miles an hour versus 25. And all that's going to be interrupted. And are we prepared to, and the contractor prepared to manage that? So if we acknowledge that that's a risk we're going to have to take, I think we really need to insist that the contractor have builder's risk insurance. Think of it as an umbrella, that's a standard thing in big projects, is kind of an umbrella policy in case they do something stupid. You know, they make an error from a craftsmanship standpoint, or they back out in front of a speeding car coming down 25. We need to make sure there's adequate coverage, that we're protected, the public's protected, and that's kind of an extra insurance policy. So we're not voting yet, but you can tell I'm on the fence here. Do I want 25 to look better? Of course I do. Is it worth $700,000 or $600,000 or $700,000? I don't know. I'd like to compare apples and apples, clean versus clean. And if we make this investment, are we prepared to maintain it? Because you remember, I've been asking for this edging and weed eating and let's get it cleaned up. See, for a year, we haven't been able to do that, even with the help of people out of the jail. So are we going to spend this money? And the new roads look like this 2 years from now, or the new sidewalks look like this 2 years from now. So I'm off my soapbox.
Well, again, I'll ask you a follow-up question to that. What are you talking about, what it's gonna look like in 2 years? Because again, from my understanding of the width of the sidewalk, it takes up all of that we've talked about as far as the strip between the sidewalk and the street and the grassy stuff.
It'll take up that, what's grass now toward the street side will be all concrete.
Yeah.
So you will eliminate 50% of the edging.
Okay. Well, and again, when the sidewalk goes out, that'll be on the homeowner to maintain the other portion, right? So is that what your
It
concern
hasn't-
is that you're not
It
gonna get
hasn't worked,
consistency?
it hasn't worked so far.
Okay, so you're talking about consistency of homeowners in the city maintaining their property.
It
And
it is now, but it's.
Oh, I
he's correct,
understand
it
that,
isn't
yeah,
done.
yeah, and again, I thought when we originally discussed this, again, it was an opportunity, and I don't know, you know, I haven't walked all of the streets and stuff, but again, to be able to put this project where, again, it's in the can for a decade, you know, or more, that again, you're not gonna have any issues with sidewalk infrastructure, that again, from corner to corner, on both sides, that'll be done. So again, that's something that we don't have to worry about any of that coming back to get us later on, as an opportunity to be able to utilize the funds that were made available to us. Now, again, if the concern is it's the clientele maintaining their personal property on the other end of the sidewalk, I mean, that's,
Oh, yeah. You can carry the analogy of lack of maintenance all the way from the park up to the stoplight, all the way down past Harvesters.
yeah,
It's never is. It looks terrible.
yeah.
There's 6 inches of sidewalk that's buried under grass and mud and dirt, and it's irregular. If we want it to look nice, we need to maintain it.
Yeah.
And we could do a lot more with code enforcement. We could, but we're going, you know, every time we go to knock on the door, we're going to have an upset citizen. Get pushed back. Yeah,
Or we could do it.
or we could do it ourselves, which we shouldn't do, but we do. We do several things that we shouldn't, honestly, right now. But, you know, there's trade-offs on that on both sides.
So I'm finished. I don't know how I'm gonna vote.
No, I mean, those are all good comments and thoughts on my
Valid concerns.
perspective. Yeah.
Sidewalk wise, is this only on the main roads or is this doing the little streets as well?
It's only Main Street.
Only Main Street, okay. I just wanted to clarify.
Violet Road to the
To
Quippy
Har-
Dip and back.
Both sides.
So are the sidewalks like in bad shape safety wise or they just wanna look pretty?
Years ago, when the ground's concrete.
I don't think so.
I don't know, I don't go down that way that much, so I don't
Couple years ago
know.
it was bad, but I mean, it's where they took care of the high spots and the trees that were too close to the sidewalk to begin with, you know, that made a big difference.
Yes, there have been worse sidewalks, I'll be honest with you. I mean, as far as the sidewalk itself, probably not.
I walk Whippy Dip all the time and I get there just fine.
Because, you know, they did have the edges ground down. This is more of a, I'll say more of an aesthetic than
Yeah.
a safety issue at this point. Because they would be uniform in width and they would be two-colored. And, you know, they would take out the suicide strip, what do you recall, that grass that's on the side there. So it would be more of an aesthetic than a safety concern at this point, yes.
But you are at some, you know, at some point, we would be having to replace these sidewalks, so you are extending that out.
The infrastructure life,
If-
yeah.
Yeah, you're restarting that number,
Yeah.
whatever that is.
But again, if there's opportunity to utilize the funding that we've set aside specifically for this project into something like the park or something else that would, you know,
Or something else.
or something else, yeah.
I think it's important to note, before I was ever on council, so this was pre-4, this was probably maybe even your days here. Your dad hired a company, KLC, to shave down the high points on the existing.
He did.
So
Yeah.
there's been 2 steps on repair on the sidewalks in recent years, maybe in the last decade, where the high points where people that are in mobility scooters and stuff like that could make access, and then there was the repairs on the curbs with the new ramps where you see
Yeah,
the,
yeah.
We didn't do that now.
The state did that.
Yeah.
But again, the other day when I was coming through, I guess it's Monday, and, I was stopping over to pick up my packet, and, I saw a lady in a wheelchair, and of course she had a little kid sitting in the front, but she was right at the corner, at the very first house there, and there were 3 trash cans sitting out, and she was having to move, she was going back and forth, she's like, I'm gonna stop and move these trash cans so she could go through, but she was coming off the back side of that sidewalk, and she got to the first house, and she was having to move her into the grass, and I thought, and again, that little kid's gonna fall out of here, this is just not a good setup. And that's exactly what I thought at that time, if you have a 7-foot sidewalk or whatever that is that we're putting through there, to be able to get some of that you take some of that out, but again, it is a high dollar project, and again, if it's something we need to discuss as far as aesthetics and the amount of money that's already been poured into that, for the current configuration.
A lot of the grinding that's been done is because of settling, right? I mean, moving.
Settling in the trees, if you
Yeah.
remember all those
Trees,
branch
a lot of
repair
it.
trees,
Trees were a lot of it.
before they were removed, they pushed a bunch of it up,
Right.
you know, and so there was damage on both freezing and thawing and the trees. And I'm gonna defend the guy that put the trees out there, he advised against that when he did it. Because I heard him say it to council that this is not a good idea, but it was done anyway.
Was that the city trees that we put out?
They
I
got
got
too
you.
close.
Yeah.
They just, when they're little, they look good when they're
Yeah.
close, but.
Right.
Yeah.
And they all crack and break on
Well, what we got, have they been etched before? I mean, we talked about that, has that been done
A
before?
portion of it has been done. At one time when we had the prisoners here, we did a portion of it down Main Street on this side. But no, they've never all been totally edged to my knowledge on both sides.
What they did was weed eat horizontal, they didn't,
Right. Well, it's
they
tough.
didn't edge vertically, yeah.
It's thick, I mean, I've done it, it's thick, you know, even when you with an edger, you have
Yeah.
to stay on top of it
Yeah.
for a while.
Yes,
Yeah.
and actually you have to maintain it. You can't do it once and forget it.
Right.
It's
It's
gotta
right,
be-
you have to.
It's gotta be done periodically.
Yeah.
Stay that
It's
way.
gonna be an ongoing maintenance issue. Well,
Yeah,
it should be an ongoing maintenance issue, whether it's new or old.
you're right, it should.
Should.
And stay on top of it. To keep it looking nice, you do need to stay on top of it, yes.
Well, is that an option? Get them edged? See what you need to get them edged, see what it looks like?
It's always an option.
I mean-
Joe and I discussed that
It
again.
ain't gonna hurt anything, cost-wise.
No, it won't. The only thing is, I honestly think we would need some help to get it done, but
Oh,
we
yeah.
could do it.
Yeah.
What's our liability as far as the bid having to give a response back? Was that 30 days from opening?
How long is
or-
the bid open? Is the bid 30 days?
I do want to say 30 days.
I think it was advertised for 30 days.
So from the bid opening, we have to give them a response by the next meeting.
Well, within 30
Right.
days. I mean, we could always do special meetings if we need to, but the bid's firm for 30 days.
Right.
That's what we require. Now, we can call and ask them to make it longer, you know.
Right.
Now, just a reminder, we get the bids on May 3rd, so it is 30 days, you're looking at like, June 2nd. Just to be technical.
If they can't extend it, yeah.
I know this contract is ready to go within the days.
And actually,
we
we
can
have
walk
to ask-
tomorrow, you can start.
We'd have to ask both people to extend it, not just one. So, you know, and I'm only saying that because let's say that, who got the low bid?
Director.
Say Rigler decided that they don't, you know, Rigler's gonna have to get Richter, they got two Rs. Everybody's gonna have to agree with it, because then Rigler may decide, hey, it's 30 days is up, we might get it under them. Especially since we got the other two contracts. So it wouldn't be like we could just talk to one, we'd have to get everybody's consent, or we'd have to rebid.
Right.
Other questions? And we do need to figure some way to program this $800,000.
And this was my
I've
next
got-
question was the
I mean,
ARPA
Greg
money.
mentioned that already, and
We have
I
to-
think that is a valid concern.
Yeah.
But we need to do something with that, because I don't want to be giving this back.
No.
Now, we could do something else with it. I'm sure we could figure out a way, you know, we could start paving more roads, we could do something.
Very simple way is to park, but there's no design yet.
That's right. Oh, by the way, yeah, we'll jump on Jacob about that, we need to get that design on the park. Park.
Okay.
Harvester.
Oh, the harvester.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Crittenden Nature Park.
Yeah.
Are you, was that the one by the lake you were talking about?
Yes,
on the phone?
that's what we're talking about.
Walkway and
That's,
parking lot.
I asked Logan about that, he said, oh yeah, that's another job we need to do, and I was like, oh, first I'm hearing about it, so.
It's also a design build contractor you can hire. And design and build it,
Yeah, that's true.
negotiate with the budget.
Yeah.
We got it done.
Okay, where are we? More
Motion
discussion?
on the floor to
So
accept.
we got a motion and second discussion. Is there further discussion? If there's no further discussion, are we ready to vote? All right, John, call roll.
Very good. Mr. Saylor,
I'm gonna say no.
Mr. Livingood,
I also said no.
okay, Mr. Dusing,
No,
okay, Mr. Tanner,
No.
okay, motion is, rejected.
Go ahead and take the two votes.
Mrs. Morris,
No.
Mrs. Bowman.
I'll go ahead and say no then.
Yeah, okay, so motion is.
Motion is,
Rejected.
the motion is to not proceed, okay. Next, number 4 on the agenda is an ordinance amending the code of ordinances to remove the jail time that was attributed when the ordinance was first written for building code violations. And we're doing this because actually, if we leave anything in our ordinance that requires time in jail, if there's a violation, we cannot enforce it with our code enforcement board. The law has changed now because cities now have the ability to use a code enforcement board to enforce their own ordinances, so long as there's not a possibility of of time in jail. As long as it's a fine,
Yeah.
and a fine only, then we can handle it internally. If there's a possibility that there could be jail time involved for a violation, it has to go to district court. I can tell you that if it goes to district court, it probably isn't gonna be done to start with, and secondly, it's gonna take forever. So the purpose of this is simply to line up now what we have as far as penalties, to drop that portion having to do with the possibility of any kind of jail time, and make it a fine only so that everything can be handled in-house. So, that being said, is this a first reading?
Yes,
Okay, if this is the first reading, then that's the explanation. We'll read it by title only. It's an ordinance amending the code of ordinances of the city of Crittenden to delete, under section 50.999, the penalty, which did previously allow for the possibility of a 30-day jail sentence, by striking that from the ordinance. So we'll have a second reading in, what's the date?
June 13th? June, yes, June 13th.
Yes, June 13th. All right, that brings us then to old business. Under the body worn camera policy, I think I circulated that, did I not? Or did I?
We'll give that in the May 9th meeting.
Okay.
I didn't get a
We
second
have,
copy
have
out.
one page on it, then we'll send it out later on.
Okay, so everybody's had a chance to look at it, right? Okay, that was a very minimal document that I put together. I got 3 different agencies that use those, and kind of cut it down as much as I could to make it as simple as possible. But if you have things that you want to add, something you want to take out, however you want to proceed from there, you know, let me know, or we can just adopt that one if you like the way that one is. So, floor is open for discussion on that. It really doesn't have, well, we'll do a motion on it, although I don't know that it has to be because it's going to be a policy. It could be adopted without, but we'll do a motion. So is there discussion on the policy as written?
No, it covered what I needed to see as far as the maintaining of the footage and all that kind of stuff. So
Okay.
it was all outlined.
So is there a motion that it be adopted then as presented? Motion by Michelle, second by Greg. Discussion on it. Those in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you. Motion carried. Next is ordinance number 315, 2023, which is our budget. Second reading again. That was passed out, I think, at our last meeting. We had a first reading. So this would be the second reading for that ordinance. Floor is open for that one. Well, first of all, let's do a motion to, I'll ask for a motion to approve it, and we'll open for this floor for discussion. So motion to approve the budget, motion by Greg, second by Michelle. Well, let's don't vote. Floor is open for discussion. Now, there we go. Who wants to talk about it?
I have a clarification. I know that, looks like sanitation trash fees have been removed but but it lists, the sanitation trash down below is not being removed. Is there a reason that's still maintained?
Yes, and let me say it this way, we're contractually bound by the 109 board to do what they say, not what we want to say.
Okay.
By saying it that way, and I don't want to give anybody ideas as to how they can do this, but if the trash people were to come back to us and say, hey, we didn't agree that we're gonna go ahead and send these bills out, but we never agreed to that because we're losing too much money, our contract says that you gotta write us a check. So write us the check. They could back up and say, because only the 109 board can change this, not us. They're really doing us a favor by taking over the building because of the position we've been put in by no longer having the building.
So this is a safety net right now, that again, if it doesn't move forward, as we've all received the notices, and everybody.
Well, Sean and I discussed that, and I don't think it's gonna happen. I truly don't. I don't think they're gonna back up on us because the public has been very responsive. They've been very willing, been very cooperative.
And, yeah,
You know, they really have.
the
They
billing
didn't
is
have to
definitely going up, so,
be. Yeah, they didn't have to be, but they had.
yeah.
But if they, let's say that they start winding up and getting like 20% failure rate to pay, and they decide, hey, we don't need to fight this battle, we got a contract. Crittenden, write me a check.
How long will we maintain this on an annual basis as far as into
We
the?
can't, well, we're through 2025 right now, but it could go on indefinitely because under the law, only the county can change what happens under the 109, not us.
So we maintain this in our budget through the year and then just have that as a rollover item, or?
Or if we feel comfortable that nothing's gonna happen to us, we could always reallocate it. And you don't have to leave it there now. You can pull it out if you feel comfortable. Again, the budget is yours. We're here to make suggestions.
I was just wanting to know, clarity on the reason why we were having it and what, and again,
And it's-
I could probably see it for the first year, but again, maintaining $136,000 as a line item, as we move forward with that, then
I would
maybe
really
something
like
to
to
think
see this changed as to the way that solid waste is handled. I really would, by law. But until it is changed.
about. Yes. No, and again, that's clarification that I needed to understand why it was still there. We were taking off the fees portion of that, and then the city would still be on, and I guess if we got a trial and error and see how it goes.
Mid-year, we could do a budget amendment. We go through that exercise anyway, so it's just one more things that we could do a budget amendment on if we need
Yeah,
to.
We can.
that makes sense.
Other questions? None?
No, well, the only thing I had was the 18,000 for Duke. That was the actual number. Michelle?
17,991 was the revised contract value that we received.
So that line item went down from 50-some thousand down to 18,000. And again, I guess that money, the leftover that went into road paving, and that made that number go up. Okay, that was.
And part of it is, there's two different things with the lighting project.
Mhm.
You've got your city
Mhm.
big poles, and then you've got your decoratives.
Mhm.
Decorative poles, we're not doing the decorative at this time. Now, if we're not gonna spend the ARPA, that would be something to try to, this guy's just been dragging his feet like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I had concern with Duke, to be honest, they're as fast as a snail.
Oh, my
So,
goodness. Yeah.
I don't know, it's just gonna be.
It is.
But-
hammered with-
Well, that's all I need clarification from what I had seen, so.
Other questions? Ready to vote? Okay, call roll.
Oh, wait, do we need to take out the sidewalk project that's on page 2? Because you've got that,
Well, we're gonna have to discuss that. What do you wanna do with that? You wanna delete it?
because we
Or you
originally
want
thought it would be
to-
like 350, 340.
At this point, yes, but we need to delete that.
Revise it.
Just
Yeah.
remove it, yeah.
We're gonna spend this money. park,
Well,
roads, whatever, right?
We're gonna have to figure out a place where we're gonna spend it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, can we just roll that into the road paving and park project at this point as opposed to a line item, just to be able to account for the funds?
We gotta get the park project off, off dead center. We don't have the design, is the
Yeah,
problem.
no, I'm just saying there's a place to park that budgetary item.
Once we get it, yeah, we're gonna,
Okay.
yeah, we'll get that bid, and then, we'll see where we go with getting that done. I wanna get that done if we can, as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So that-
Like
yeah.
you said.
But again, like we rolled the Duke money into that particular line item, just transfer that money down. I was thinking about, again, taking that actual Main Street sidewalk project off the list and moving that 333,500 just down under another item, so that again, we account for the funds and know where it's at, and then we can work on it as far as whatever we're gonna put it to later on, so.
So roll it into roads / park.
Is that kind of the consensus? Yes.
Since we don't have another place to park it, that would be my recommendation.
But if this thing comes to life again, in 2 meetings, we can do a budget amendment, and that can be done 2 days after a regular meeting, right? So it's not like we can't,
No, it can be done in 1 day. We just need to give notice, and
Yeah.
you can change the budget
Yeah.
at any time during the year.
yeah, exactly, that's what I'm about.
Yeah,
But I'm saying we could piggyback it on a regular,
yes.
Okay, so going forward, just roll it in.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, other questions? Ready? Okay, call roll.
Mr. Saylor,
Yes.
Mr. Livingood,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Duzen,
yes.
Mr. Tanner,
Yes.
Ms. Morris,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowman.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried with the advisement.
Okay, the next thing, and I think the last thing on our agenda, is another ordinance 31623, and this is a second reading. And it again it's more of a cleaning up. There were 2 places in our code of ordinances where we allowed an appeal time of 20 days when the actual revised statutes said that it should be 7. So this is just taking out the word 20, putting in the word 7, so that our code of ordinances reflects what the law of Kentucky says, as opposed to what we had previously, which is another thing, one of those things that simply changes from time to time. So this is lining up our ordinance with the law. Okay? Anybody have questions on that? All right, then we'll just go ahead and, we'll open the floor. Does anybody want to make a motion on that? Right now, motion, second. You want to discuss it, or just take a vote? Vote. Okay, call the roll. Sorry.
Mr. Saylor?
Yes.
I know your fingers aren't there.
Yeah, I'm about to say. Mr. Livingood?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Duzen? Mr. Tanner?
Yes.
Mrs. Morris?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowman?
Yes.
Carried.
Okay, that completes our agenda. Now, does anybody have anything else that they wish to bring up this evening?
Just, I know it's not on the agenda, but I'd like to talk about something that might have an impact on the park.
Okay.
My wife and I took a day trip to Madison, Indiana, just for the heck of it. And I'd been through there 15 years ago at the waterfront and didn't think very highly of it. But talking about a facelift, it's absolutely beautiful. But one of the things I noticed that I want to show you a picture. Half of the benches and swings and things like that
I've seen that.
have been donated. Here's one that's here, it's Miss Lucy's Swing. But I talked to a lady from a historical society while I was there, and they got donation after donation after donation to do nice stuff. Well, maybe we can do something like that here. Maybe this could be Dr. Lenahan's or St. Elizabeth's bench or the city swing, I don't know, but there might be ways that we can get some good stuff donated. I was absolutely shocked. Everywhere I went, there was a plaque on something to And it was beautiful. And it was donated. I kind of like donations.
Was the old factory done down on the water, where they're making into apartments? Was it done, was it finished, are they done with that project right on the waterfront?
Some of it's in progress. I couldn't tell you how much was finished, but it was just, it was just a really pretty area. And my only real takeaway there was how much of it was donated by the city and or by the citizens.
To the city.
And in cooperation with the city, and it was consistent, and it looked really nice.
And we may be able to. I mean,
We don't get a few.
We've had one civic organization contact me saying they want to donate something.
Yeah.
So, that's a start. We haven't even asked.
And again, when you drive through the
See
park,
some of these.
out here, I mean, all of the signage and stuff is out there, so again, we have a lot of
Yeah.
corporate partners that have been involved with, again,
Yeah.
the sponsorship out there, I'm
We're
sure
gonna
that
do
is.
is Wolf Steel
Yeah.
for that reason.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Softball today,
That's
actually.
good point.
Other questions, comments? Okay. Then we need a motion to adjourn until our next meeting date, which is June the 13th at 7 PM. Is there such motion? Motion by Leo, second by Bobby. Those in favor? Thank you very much. We're done.